We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Insanity is doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting a different result. That makes the supporters of this legislation, by definition, insane. Reckless spending in this town is what causes inflation. And we cannot continue to increase taxes on the American people and put a target on American energy production while spending a historic $370 billion on Green New Deal initiatives and expect to lower inflation and improve our economy. Remember that so-called bipartisan infrastructure bill? Yeah, we spent $200 billion on Green New Deal initiatives. I guess that was just a down payment on this never-ending theft of American tax dollars. We are sacrificing, you are sacrificing American families at the altar of climate change. Mr. Speaker, isn't it so? Joe Biden himself said inflation rate is at 0%. So what the heck are we doing here? Why are we passing this so-called Inflation Reduction Act if it's at 0%? Well, in fact, it's the Inflation Enhancement
Gentlewoman's
Act.
time has expired.
And it does the exact opposite of what Americans need right now. This is just another con game by the Democrats, calling something one thing and saying another.
Expired.
This is making the IRS, which
Gentlewoman's time has expired.
The Pentagon, the State Department,
gentlewoman is
the
no
FBI,
longer recognized. The gentleman from Missouri reserves the belt.
Mr. Speaker.
Robbery on Americans.
How much time do you need?
The gentlewoman is no longer recognized.
Caught her away. Happy Monday, everybody. So Friday, not that you would know it from watching any of the TV, Friday, the House of Representatives passed what had passed the Senate, the Inflation Reduction Act. It has been passed. And I'm telling you, it was over the objections of lunatic, fringy people. It was over the objections. I mean, we have a 5-seat majority in the House. We have a 0-seat majority in the Senate. You can't have less than nothing, okay? Less than nothing is nothing. So that's our majority in the Senate. Nothing. We have no majority in the Senate. In the House, we have 5 stinking more House Democrats than we do House Republicans. And still we managed to pass this freaking bill, which lowers prescription drug costs, which actually expands the subsidies that people receive in order to pay for their health insurance when they, don't want to work for corporate, when they want to own their own small business, or when they want to leave and go out on their own and start a business, or any of those things like that. So prescription drugs will be negotiated now through the Medicare program. She's up there belching out her spleen, saying that the awesome buying power of the United States of America under the Medicare program, and by the way, negotiating the cost of prescription drugs, will save the United States government $288 billion, that is somehow a bad idea. Because Pharma told her that. Pharma told her to go up there and do that. It will limit Medicare out-of-pocket drug costs so that it will be $2,000 a year for people on Medicare. When you buy stuff at the pharmacy, that starts next year, okay? The Affordable Care Act subsidies, they're extended for another 3 years through 2025. Last year, 14.5 million people signed up for Obamacare. That was the largest increase in signing up for Obamacare in the history of Obamacare, right? And she's again, no, you shouldn't get a subsidy. You shouldn't get anything like that, right? You will pay no more than 8.5% of your income towards coverage. That is down from 10%. And lower income policy holders will receive subsidies that totally eliminate any premiums for getting health insurance. That's a bad idea, Lauren. That's a bad idea. Open enrollment, by the way, starts November 1st. Enjoy. It also acts as the biggest investment in climate mitigation, whatever you want to call it, in the United States history. And it slashes greenhouse gas emissions by at least 40% in 8 years. Okay, it's not net zero, which is what I'm all about, but it is slashing greenhouse gases by 40% in 8 years. And it also gives $4,000 to people who qualify for purchasing a used electric vehicle, $7,500 for a new one, which some people already experienced, but they capped it so that every electric vehicle manufacturer could only offer that rebate for the first 100,000 vehicles that they sold. And a lot of the vehicle manufacturers sold more than 100,000 vehicles already. And so some people weren't eligible. But also you'll get a tax credit to bring down the cost of installing a heat pump or a rooftop solar array. Or if you have to replace your HVAC, your electric air conditioning, your water heaters, $60 billion of funding for environmental justice communities for the reduction of what they call, check this out, dumping in, black and brown neighborhoods, dumping in neighborhoods that were redlined. They call that legacy pollution. Like what happened in Flint, Michigan with the water, legacy pollution. Yeah, so that's a $60 billion investment. $60 billion towards domestic clean energy manufacturing. $30 billion for production credit tax credits for wind, solar, battery storage. $4 billion, this is what Cinema wanted, $4 billion for drought funding because, she's living in the desert where, by the way, it's flooding. Yeah, it's raining on the craps tables in Vegas. I don't know. That's Nevada. She's from Arizona. And there are tax provisions in this bill that raises the obligation for $1 billion worth of profit companies so they can't get away with paying nothing anymore. There's a 15% minimum tax on the income that large, over $1 billion in profits, large corporations report to their shareholders, not to the IRS, but report to their shareholders. So if they're saying, hey, we made $1 billion in profits to the shareholders, then they have to pay a 15% minimum tax. She's against all this. And let me tell you something, when you have a zero majority in the Senate, again, there is nothing lower than zero, and a 5-seat majority in the House of Representatives. It's like running a marathon and winning it with a rock in your shoe, with one hand tied behind your back and the other one dragging Manchin and Sinema over the finish line. And we freaking did it. We did it. Now imagine what living in a world without a filibuster would look like. Just saying, but we don't. We don't. And nary I haven't seen anything on the news about this unbelievable or any of the accomplishments that this particular Congress and this president have been able to pass and sign into law. We did the CHIPS Act so that we'll build regional hubs to manufacture our own semiconductors. It's one thing, like I said, to stand on a stage and bloviate and bellyache and scream at China, China, and do nothing about their competitive edge. It's quite another thing to pass the CHIPS Act so that we make our own damn semiconductors. We expanded veterans' health care for the first time in 50 years? The American Rescue Plan that came to everybody with child tax credits to get you through the COVID pandemic, which, by the way, COVID, I don't want to say COVID is over because COVID's going to be out there just like the common cold and just like various, flus. It's going to be out there. But people who are vaccinated against various flus, they don't get very sick from the various flus. Okay? And the CDC, we're through the pandemic. The CDC just took off all social distancing requirements, told kids they can go back to school, they can visit each other in each other's classrooms. There's no more isolation after you've been exposed because we have 98% of the American population has either been vaccinated or has had COVID, and we got to immunity.
all things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Here's a little scrolly thing to celebrate all of the accomplishments that have been achieved in just under an executive order advancing. Oh my God. Oh my God. You could have really. It is an amazing amount of achievements, accomplishments. While the entire administration prior tried to rig an election and gave a tax break to the top tippy top 1% of the population. I don't even understand why people are willing to die on that hill. I don't understand it. Somebody will have to explain to me why it is that you are willing to die on the hill of the liar who apparently lied and stole classified. I mean, it's more than classified. This is sources and methods, meaning human intel, names. God only knows what was in that crap. But, we have a lot more to do. We have a ton more to do. We still, in the Build Back Better plan, which half of it just got passed on Friday. Did I mention that we have a zero majority in the Senate? Yes. And we were still able to do it. We did not get, these are the things that, Manchin and Sinema, they would not vote for. They were, all upset about these things. So this stuff didn't get into the bill that, is going to lower prescription drug costs and give you subsidies to help you pay for your health insurance and pay down the debt by $288 billion simply by allowing Medicare, the largest purchaser of prescription drugs in the history of prescription drug purchasing, is now allowed to negotiate the cost, the price that they pay. Okay, but what we didn't get universal pre-K. We didn't get lower child care costs. Now, let me just tell you that the House bill that included universal pre-K, free pre-K for 3 and 4-year-olds, that would have, included 6 million children a year. It would have also limited child care costs for families with children under the age of 6. It would never cost you more than 7% of your income if you earned 250% of the state's median income, which means that kids who their parents aren't able to afford child care for them, would now be able to get quality childcare so that their parents could go to work, okay? And that would have helped about 20 million children. The funding for those two things, for the universal pre-K and for help paying for childcare costs, it would have lasted 6 years, okay? We didn't get paid family and sick leave. We didn't get the enhanced child tax credit, which was included in the American Rescue Plan. In the American Rescue Plan, people in the year of 20 and 21 were able to get $300 a month for each child under the age of 6 and $250 a month for each child 6 through 17. That went away, okay? And what we wanted to do was extend it for the year of 20 and 22. That's all we wanted. And that would have helped 35 million families. 35 million families. I'll bet you it would have helped a lot of the families whose daddies went out and spent $2,000 on a semi-automatic weapon. I bet you it would have done some good there. But that did not make it. That did not make it. Also, the earned income tax credit, we expanded that in the American Rescue Plan. That would have been extended through 20 and 22 as well. That would have helped 17 million low-wage, childless workers, people who don't have children but still aren't making a whole lot of money. The House bill would have tripled the maximum credit that childless workers could receive. It would have extended eligibility to a whole lot more people, reduced the minimum age, and eliminate the upper age limit. And that, along with the enhanced child tax credit, would have been a measly $203 billion, which is clearly paid for with just Medicare negotiating the price of drugs. That's $288. But even though it was revenue neutral and it would have helped millions and millions, tens of millions of families, no. And then, home health care didn't make it in. Affordable housing didn't make it in. There are a lot of things we still need to do. A lot of things. So let me give you your moment of Herschel Walker, just so that you can compare and contrast the quality of being, okay, who passes legislation that helps millions and millions and millions of families versus Herschel Walker.
Why don't you get the best person
Why
for
do
the
you
job?
get the best person?
Because if you get someone that's not ready, it's going to make everybody look bad. But now, she may say that she's not black now. She may be somebody else today. That's the problem we have, is we don't know what people are doing today. And her job was the border.
And she hasn't even been there. She hasn't even been there. Could you imagine having a job and not showing up?
She complained about it, and she said, it's the white men that the reason I'm doing this, because they're against me. It's not the white men, it's that you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
So it is amazing that the left continue to call everyone else on the right racist, but they're the one who's talking about racism. And I said, if you want to get it, to quit talking about it.
So I play that because it helps me relax, because my jaw just drops. This is the candidate for the United States Senate seat in Georgia. This is what they came up with. I don't understand a word this man said. I mean, how did he get from trashing Kamala Harris as not being black enough to we shouldn't talk about racism in the same breath? It's mind-blowing. It's shocking. It's unbelievable. So if he becomes a United States senator, no one is going to be able to accuse him of going back on anything he said, because nobody understands anything he says. There's an ad playing in Georgia ad nauseum that features his ex-wife, who is retelling the story of how Herschel Walker held a gun to her temple and said he was going to blow her brains out, and that his eyes were evil, and she just knew that he was the kind of person who would do it. And he's like, I'm glad that they released that ad. I'm glad. Why are you glad that they released that ad? Do we not have enough crazy in the United States, Congress? Do we not have enough crazy? You got your Lauren Boeberts, you got your Paul Gosars, you got your Marges, you got your Gates, you got your Jordans. You know what I mean? You got crazy. You got crazy coming up. You got, what's his face? Hey, more sports figures. Yes. Let's get more sports figures. Alabama, what is wrong with you people? Do you not want to do the job of governing? What is the deal? What is the deal? Do you not want to build manufacturing hubs? Do you not want to be made in America? Do you not want it made in America? Because if you're really against America, and if you're really against progress, and if you're really against manufacturing, and you're really against good paying jobs, he's your guy. They're your guys. Those are them.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
You remember this?
It is midnight in Washington. The lights are finally going out in the Capitol after a long day in the impeachment trial of Donald J. Trump. You can't trust this president to do the right thing, not for 1 minute, not for one election, not for the sake of our country. You just can't.
Bing, bing, bong, bong, bing,
he will not change, and you know it. History will not be kind to Donald Trump. I think we all know that. Not because it will be written by never-Trumpers, but because whenever we have departed from the values of our nation, we have come to regret it. And that regret is written all over the pages of our history. If you find that the House has proved its case and still vote to acquit, your name will be tied to his with a cord of steel and for all of history. He has betrayed our national security. He has compromised our elections, and he will do so again. You will not change him. You cannot constrain him. Truth matters little to him. What's right matters even less, and decency matters not at all. We have proven Donald Trump guilty. Now do impartial justice.
Guess that aged well. Now we're talking about nuclear weapons, secrets. Now we're actually saying these things out loud. Now we're actually looking at whether or not Donald Trump sold nuclear secrets, took nuclear secrets, and we don't even know whose. Was it our nuclear secrets? Was it another country's nuclear secrets? Was it an allied country that he had a beef with nuclear secrets? Was it an enemy of ours, nuclear secrets? I mean, we have no earthly idea what the hell he pilfered, and the amount of the amount of lying that's gone on. He excuse after excuse after excuse. First, it was everything was planted. They planted stuff. Well, how do you know that what was planted was bad? How do you know that what was planted would be top secret or above top secret? Sources, methods, names of operatives, plans that we had, how we get intelligence from other countries. I mean, how did he know that what was planted was that? How did he know that? Well, that's because it wasn't planted. It's stuff that he already had, right? It's stuff that he's looked at. It's stuff that he either sold or was going to sell or did sell, or stuff that he just, was going to blackmail the entire population of the world with. I have no idea. But the fact that he said, it was planted. Now he's saying, no, I declassified everything. I had a standing order that if I took stuff, then automatically it was declassified. I have news for you. It doesn't work like that. Not at all. And what proof do you have that you declassified materials? Because then everyone who thinks these materials are classified would then not have to go into a SCIF to see them because you've already declassified them. There is no evidence that he did any of these things. On Fox News, you had a guy, a former FBI assistant director, Chris Swecker, I guess his name is, saying these are heavyweight crimes, people, trying to tell the Fox viewers, you might be sorry that you, got ahead of this. You might be sorry that you're not trashing him for this. You might be sorry that you're giving him the benefit of the doubt here because these are heavyweight statutes.
Yeah, Sean, these are heavyweight statutes. The first statute, 793, is basically the espionage statute. It talks about things that he may have done with the documents that would result in injury to this country and willful, and he did these things willfully. That's serious enough. That's a 10-year penalty. Oh, if he's convicted. Now, the third statute, which is an obstruction-related statute, carries a 20-year penalty. Oh, and it basically says that it alleges that he somehow impeded an ongoing matter, which could have been the grand jury investigation of what we now know is an espionage case. So this is a much more serious case than just possession of classified documents. Yeah, we were led to believe that this was all about just document possession and some argument about how getting these documents back into the archives. Far from it. They're alleging actions on the part of this ex-president and things that he has done that can only be coming from informants.
Oh my God! I honestly, it's an amazing thing. So you have like 1 out of every 2,000 guests on Fox try to tell some of the sane people, turn the channel, don't die on this hill. This man could be very well in jail for 20 years for obstructing an espionage case, of which he is the subject. Now, I will tell you today, Rudy Giuliani was notified today. Oh yes, good old Rudy. Rudy was notified today by prosecutors that he is a target in the Georgia 2020 election attempt to steal, to overthrow the results of a free and fair election in Georgia. The Fulton County District Attorney's Office, that's Fonnie Wilson, notified Giuliani's Georgia attorney, his counsel, today, to inform him that Rudy is now considered a target of their investigation. Well, Donald Trump's voice is the one that's on that phone call. Okay, so if they're notifying Rudy that he is indeed a target, so is Donald. Let me tell you what's developing here. And it's something I've said for years now, years. And if you follow me on Twitter, I hate to say it because I don't like to be right about these terrible things, but I've been right about just about everything. This is a RICO case. There is no question in my mind that all of these things, all of these moving parts, all of these moving pieces will be charged in one RICO charge, saying that everything that Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani and Eastman and others, it'll be a long ass list of sycophants. It'll be a long ass list of lying sacks of crap, okay? That everything they did was part of a corrupt organization that only had one goal, and that goal was racketeering. That's what RICO is. It's the Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization Act. It is a huge statute. It's got lots of moving parts, and you have to have more than one felony that you are investigating. Just in these documents, just in the crap that went on at Mar-a-Lago, or what some of my listeners, viewers are calling MAGA Loco. I love that. But just there alone, you have obstruction of justice. Just there alone, you have, stealing documents and lying to the feds. Now we're starting to get a timeline. And whenever you have to solve a crime, I always tell you, make a timeline. It will be like the most helpful thing that you can do to sort the order of things and figure out why it's a crime. Apparently, there was a subpoena that was issued to Donald way before they did this search warrant. They didn't go from zero to search warrant. They were told, they asked about classified documents. They handed over 15 boxes. Then they asked the lawyer, is that everything? A lawyer signed off saying, yeah, that's everything. The lawyer lied. We don't know which one it was. And then a subpoena was issued. Yeah.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844.
One side is going to say
561-270-3844.
One side is going to say that this is just politically motivated and weaponization of the Justice Department, but it's also very serious charges about very serious crimes.
The Justice Department had been negotiating for these documents for weeks, eventually subpoenaing them.
Oh.
ABC News also learning that in June, a Trump attorney signed a statement telling federal prosecutors all classified documents at Mar-a-Lago had been turned over after the FBI visited that month. And ABC News confirming that in June, security camera footage from Mar-a-Lago was subpoenaed and turned over by Trump.
Oh.
It's unclear how long that footage covers and what it shows. Many security officials are expressing utter shock at this situation, and they remind that these types of national security secrets are exactly the kind of information that our adversaries run spy operations to steal.
Oh my God. It is an amazing, listen, if you think about it this way, and this is how I've been trying to think about it, it is shocking that we have never had a spy in the White House. It is shocking that we've never had somebody infiltrate, government at the highest level who had, the ability to look at the crown jewels of American, security and sold them or decided to, shake down the world based on his ability to get to this information. It is kind of amazing that that's never happened to us before, but it apparently has happened now. And so the excuse train just keeps on going. Every damn day, it's another thing. First they planted them. Then, now he's saying, I declassified them. Now, what we're learning is he said, they had no right to raid. Nobody raided. They were handling him with kid gloves, number one. Number two, there was a subpoena. There was a subpoena that was given to him after 15 boxes were recovered at MAGA Loco. Okay. And the subpoena said, hey, listen, we know that there's more. Please turn it over without incident. Just turn it over. And he wouldn't do it. So then they sent this guy, Jay Bratt. And that's how I knew that this had to do with nuclear. This is how I knew that this had to do with intelligence information. This is how I knew that it had to do with nuclear. I thought nuclear secrets of some sort. I didn't think nuclear weapons, which is what we've been told, is really under investigation here. But Bratt, as I told you, he at the Department of Justice, Mr. Jay Bratt is in charge of counterintelligence and something called export control, which we'd never heard of because there was no need for us to hear about export control. But export control is a euphemism for protecting nuclear secrets in the United States. And there are portions of the Department of Justice, there's portions of the Department of Homeland Security, there are portions of the FBI that actually sit on that wall and try to protect our secrets from being transported or taken or given or photographed or, somebody go. That's why you can't go into a skiff with a cell phone, right? So that you can't photograph anything, right? And Donald Trump is lying, and his lawyers are lying the whole time that they're saying to him very politely, please give us the rest. We know there's more there. And he's denying that there's anything there. Well, they finally subpoena the closed circuit TV, basically the Ring doorbell that was outside of this storeroom where these documents apparently were, or some of them were. We don't know where, if some of them were there and some of them were in his bedroom and some of them were in an office. We don't know yet. But we do know that they had video footage from outside of that storage room. And the video footage showed the FBI, showed the Department of Justice, that those boxes were being taken out and put back in and taken out and put back in. And apparently, this is what I said, they must have seen something. So now we're starting to find out that they did see something, that they saw boxes being moved in and out of that storeroom. Now, remember, the excuses started early with the kids, right? With Junior and Eric saying that they won't find anything. There's nothing there. Donald Trump, and they talk about their dad like that, Donald Trump. They call their dad Donald Trump, which is really scary. But they said that Donald Trump returned everything he was supposed to earlier this year. And once the news broke that the National Archives knew that there was additional material still at MAGA Loco, they sent this guy down there to say, hey, look, return it because we know somebody inside of MAGA Loco is talking to us. Somebody inside is saying, no, there's more. There's a lot more. And so they went down there. This Jay Bratt guy went down there and said, we need to have these back. And he didn't give them back. And so they had to subpoena them, the documents. So there was a subpoena that was issued. Now they're saying they're not going to find anything. Then they said, all you had to do was ask, and we, of course, would have happily complied. But now we know that he was issued a subpoena and he didn't comply. Now we know that, a guy who's in charge of counterintelligence and export control for the Department of Justice actually visited him. And now we know that he was present when Jay Bratt visited. Okay, so he knew what was going on. Then they turned around and said, they planted evidence at the compound. And now he says, no, I declassified everything. Well, the former National Security Advisor, John Bolton, was on the TV this particular Sunday, and he said, I'm not aware of any standing declassification. I never heard of such a thing. I never saw such a thing.
When I became National Security Advisor, nobody briefed me or informed me that this policy or order was in effect. I was never aware of anything even remotely approximating that policy, and I haven't heard anything of it since I left. If he, in fact, said something like that, when was it memorialized? When did the White House counsel write it down? To whom was it distributed? But if he did take materials out of a safe space to the residents, it would have to be documented what they were, each document, so that people would know what had been declassified. And I know of no logistical train, no paper train at all that says what's declassified and what's not. When a document is declassified, it's not just declassified as to Donald Trump, it's declassified for the whole world. So in theory, if that order existed, which I don't think it did, the news media could today file a Freedom of Information Act request for every document he declassified, which over a 4-year period could be a pretty high stack. So I think this is made up, and I think a key point here is when somebody's making up stories like that, I think it indicates a level of desperation.
And I also want to know, why would an American president declassify nuclear secrets? Why would an American president do that? So that the whole world can now read anything to do with nuclear weapons, whether it's ours, whether it's an ally's, whether it's an enemy. Why would a president of the United States who says, "Oh, America first," declassify nuclear secrets? No, nobody would do that. Okay, so that didn't happen. That's number one. Number two, that's an important point to know, that if he declassified nuclear secrets, well, that means the whole world can see it, right? The whole world. Anybody at all could take it. Anybody at all could see it. Anybody. And all the media outlets could now file a Freedom of Information Act request and get whatever. And it could be anything, right? So this is the crazy part. It could be, technology. Because remember, he was bragging to Bob Woodward, I created this whole new nuclear program and it's stuff that she's never seen. It's stuff nobody's ever seen. This is like amazing. It's the best ever, It could be technology. It could be codes. It could be people. It could be spies. It could be how we got other people's nuclear information. It could be how we get Iran's nuclear, capabilities, how we get France's nuclear. It could be any of these things. Any of these things. Why would a president of the United States declassify any of that? The answer is he wouldn't, and he didn't. He didn't. But in Trump world, everything is a commodity. Everything is for sale. Everything, including our security, including our safety. And you know what's interesting? Okay, so he says, so I declassified these documents so that everyone could see them. I thought the whole world should be able to see them. Well, why hasn't he bothered to release any of these documents in nearly 2 years that he's not been president and says he declassified them? Answer, because that didn't happen. It didn't happen. He did not declassify. Now we're finding out that the lawyers signed a document to Jay Bratt swearing under oath that there was nothing else left. A written declaration was made after a visit in June, on June 3rd, to Magaloco by Jay Bratt, the top counterintelligence official in the Justice Department's National Security Division, saying there's nothing here. There's nothing here. And yet, after the search warrant was executed, they're saying 20 boxes. Then I saw 35 boxes.
Mary had a little man. False. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America. From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
My name is Jared Kushner. I am senior advisor to President Donald J. Trump.
One day he said, I want to come down and I want to have peace in the Middle East.
It's a perfectly qualified team.
How is that?
No, I was joking. The feeling in the room was thrilled.
The proposal crafted by President Trump's son-in-law was considered dead on arrival.
Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner earned at least $82 million last year.
Jared Kushner was denied security clearance over concerns about foreign influence, private business interests.
Do you pose a grave national security concern to the country?
The curious coincidence of Jared Kushner's failure to secure an investment from Qatar before he advised Donald Trump to support the Saudis' damaging blockade against the country.
The Crown Prince is boasting that Kushner was, quote, in his pocket.
The coronavirus hitting all-time highs.
Unnamed White House officials have described your role as being something of running a shadow task force.
So PPE has been sporadic.
The notion of the federal stockpile was it's supposed to be our stockpile. It's not supposed to be state stockpiles that they then use.
Now more than 125,000 lives lost.
40 million people have lost their jobs.
The federal government rose to the challenge, and this is a great success story. The hope is that by July, the country's really rocking again.
Jared's done an outstanding job.
It's unbelievable. It is so unbelievable that you have a right-wing, lunatic, fringy media out there screaming about Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden traded on his daddy's name. Hunter Biden sat on the Burisma board. Hunter Biden made money. Hunter Biden this, Hunter Biden that. Jared Kushner is Donald Trump's son-in-law. His daughter, Ivanka Trump, was made senior advisor in the White House while Donald Trump was president. And these lunatic, fringy people refuse to understand that these people were not qualified. And in fact, the intelligence community said, do not give them security clearances. There's too many financial obligations that these people have to trust them with the secrets of the United States of America. You just cannot, clear them. And Donald Trump cleared them anyway. And Jared was reading the Presidential Daily Brief, which contains the most securely, closely held secrets. It is the crown jewel of the United States intelligence briefings. Donald Trump never read it. People have told you he never read it. They said that they had to make charts and graphs and giant oak tag cards with pictures on it because he wouldn't pay attention to it. But Jared was yummy. He was just gobbling down all of this information. All of it. All of it. After the Saudis had attacked us on 9/11. Really. I mean, it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing, amazing thing. And yet the right wing will sit there and scream about deals that, Hunter Biden made, 10, 20 years ago? But not what happened right on television under their nose in their face. It's amazing. It's just amazing. And people are willing to die on that hill, willing to die for a family that is obviously, a family that is corrupt, a family that has organized itself around stealing, around trading on America's secrets. Everything was for sale. Everything. Now, it is unbelievable that, Jared got $2 billion. But Hunter Biden, he got $2 billion 6 months after the end of the first Trump administration. And you know what's really, really telling? The way Jamal Khashoggi was killed, right, was really, really brutal. I mean, they dismembered this man with a bone saw. It's like they really wanted him to suffer. They cut his fingers off first. Then they started hacking off body parts, arms, legs, literally, and putting them in bags, in giant garbage bags. I'm so clear now that some of the information that was provided to the Saudi royals not only was a list of people that were against MBS from ascending to the throne and who in the royal family was standing in the way, because he wasn't in the line of succession, okay? He wasn't supposed to be considered for the kingdom. What do you call it? For being the king. He wasn't supposed to be considered. He wasn't in the line of success. But I'm really sure that Jared gave a list of names of people in the Saudi royal family who were against MBS ascending to the throne. And that list then led to the debacle at the Ritz-Carlton, where all the people who were coincidentally against MBS ascending to the throne were held hostage. One of them was tortured so bad he had burn marks all over his body and a broken neck and dead. He was killed. And the others were just held at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel for months until they agreed to sign over their companies, their billions, to MBS, right? But now I'm pretty sure that they also got information about Jamal Khashoggi being more than a Washington Post columnist. I think that, the Saudi royal family was provided some information by Jared or by Donald or by, Ivanka or that Khashoggi was a spy for the United States, that he was an operative. And that is why the way he was murdered was so damn brutal. It was really, really ugly. And then Jared went over to Saudi to make everything go away and didn't tell the intelligence community that he was going there. 6 months after the end of the Trump administration, Jared gets a payday of $2 billion. How did Jared get $2 billion from the Saudis? The Saudis looked at his new investment fund. This is from Bloomberg. Oh, and by the way, Steve Mnuchin also got $1 billion for his investment fund as he was being a financial regulator for the United States of America. I just find this all so fascinating. But Jared started this thing called Affinity Partners. He had never, ever, and they did some arms deals with the Saudis too, and the United Arab Emirates, despite our Congress, which was Republican then, being in complete and utter opposition to this transfer of, weapons. But they did it anyway. But when the Saudis looked at Affinity Partners, they did their due diligence to see whether or not they should give $2 billion to this investment firm. Jared had never been an investment banker. He was a failed real estate guy. I mean, his daddy left him a real estate, bonanza, and he mucked it up. He literally mucked it up. He bought 666 Park Avenue just before the 2008 crash of the real estate market. And the loans were coming due. Anyway, when the Saudi royal family's panel did their due diligence and examined Affinity Partners, this is what they wrote. They wrote, "We find it unsatisfactory in all aspects." Unsatisfactory in all aspects. They thought that Jared Kushner was going to charge excessive fees and that a partnership with Jared was not only bad for public relations, but that they would lose a lot of money on it. And MBS actually signed off on it anyway, telling them, look, it's an insurance policy for us. We retain future access in case they ever do get back into the White House. And so if they don't, we can always, take the money back or bankrupt it or do something, right? And so they gave him $2 billion. $2 billion. But no, Hunter Biden, everybody. You know why? Because the photographs of Hunter are, they're drug addled. He had a crack habit. He was, filming himself being on crack. And that's all people need to see. They don't need to look at Jared, right? And the $2 billion.
Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
New pictures just into CNN. A group of armed Trump supporters gathered outside the FBI office in Phoenix, Arizona. Photographs taken this morning show Trump supporters carrying handguns and assault-style weapons on the street. That is allowed under Arizona's open carry law. One of the demonstrators said they're at that location to support Trump and protest what they call the unlawful search at Mar-a-Lago. This week, the FBI, along with the Department of Homeland Security, issued a joint intelligence bulletin warning of violent threats against federal law enforcement, courts, and government personnel, as well as facilities.
Following the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago, the Bureau is monitoring an unprecedented number of threats fueled by dangerous statements like these.
This is Gestapo crap, and it will not stand. The Department of Injustice needs to be cleaned out if they are going to start pretending we're some sort of banana republic.
This should scare the living daylights out of American citizens and say, we have got to change our federal government. The way our federal government has gone, it's like what we thought about the Gestapo and people like that they just go after people. What we thought about Soviet Union, what we look at Latin America. We have got to say to ourselves, this cannot be our country.
Just yesterday, the names of the two agents who signed the search warrant paperwork were circulating online.
I mean, we look like Somalia. Phoenix, Arizona looks like Somalia. It looks like downtown Mogadishu. Everybody's armed to the teeth, running around, screaming and yelling, trying to attack law enforcement. I've never seen anything like this in my life. And by the way, I have to tell you, Lauren Boebert's husband got into like a massive fight this weekend with his neighbors. 911 was called. Garfield County Sheriff's deputies. They were called out to Lauren Boebert's house where her husband apparently decided he was going to run over a neighbor's mailbox and then go toe-to-toe and chest-to-chest and face-to-face with the neighbor that was telling him to get the F off of his property, okay? You had, and the callers were saying, I'm sure he's loaded to the hilt. You know who his wife is? Lauren Boebert. She's loaded. They all have guns. He's got, he just got chest to chest, face to face, looking to fight. And you had like 5 different, law enforcement officials have to show up at, this is the 911 call.
There's a domestic situation happening right in front of my driveway, and now he's driving away, I think, just about fighting. There's it's bad. It's Lauren Boebert's jackass husband, Jason. He's running over my mailbox right now. Stop, you jackass! Get the out of here!
Oh, great.
And you said
come on, man! Over your what mailbox? Are you doing? What did we do wrong? I live here. I didn't even.
Sir, talk to me, sir.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
I need
There's about to be some going down here.
Okay. Who is the gentleman that's going over your mailbox?
Jackass husband.
Lauren.
Jason Boebert.
Jason. Okay.
Lauren Boebert.
What's he driving?
Yeah, Lauren Boebert, the congresswoman. He's driving a Ford pickup F-150. He's racing back up to his house.
What color is that Ford?
Up and down the neighborhood.
Okay.
Dark gray. Charcoal
gray.
And
you said it was a domestic?
Neighborhood in a Razor. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
he and her were arguing.
Just about came to blows. Huh?
Who was Jason
arguing with? Yeah,
there's a
lot of arguing.
Okay. Who was Jason arguing
Everybody
with
in the
at the end of your
neighborhood.
driveway? Okay. So is his wife there, or is he just...
is at the end of my driveway. My wife is here. I'm here. My neighbor's here.
Okay.
His kid was racing up and down our 25-mile-an-hour street doing 50 miles an hour in a Razor, and then he told my neighbor to f*** off when he came out to tell him to slow down. And the next thing we know, his dad, Jason, comes down here trying to claim that somebody took a swing at his kid, and nobody did. But this guy, Jason Boebert, is as dumb as a post, but this guy is so irrational. So irrational. He just got chest to chest, face to face, looking to fight, and we're talking about everybody in the neighborhood.
He wanted to fight. This is a guy who was Jason Boebert, Lauren Boebert's husband. He was arrested in 2004 for public indecency and exposure. He exposed his energy. He exposed it to minors, to children in a bowling alley, in a freaking bowling alley. And now he's running over neighbors' mailboxes, and they said he's drunk out of his mind. Now, I remember a couple of weeks ago, Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, was arrested for DUI. Oh, and the whole right wing went crazy. They went absolutely bat-crap crazy. He was arrested for DUI. Here you got Jason Boebert with guns in a pickup truck, drunk, threatening neighbors, running over their mailboxes, having 911 called him. They were arrested for lewd and indecent exposure to minors. And everybody's like, but Paul Pelosi. How do you say one is bad and the other one is not? How do you come to that conclusion? Drunk driving is bad. Whoever's doing it. This is really some sick and twisted crap that's going on with the MAGA people, with the maggots. There's something wrong with them. You understand that? There's something wrong with them. These threats of violence, the DHS, FBI, everybody's, reporting out. There's threats of dirty bombs. There's threats of killing FBI agents. There's threats of this. There's threats of that.
If you look at what happened in Cincinnati, and you've seen reports today of armed individuals outside the office in Phoenix, this is a numbers game, Jim. If politicians start to encourage people to commit acts of violence against the FBI, even if you say defund the FBI, there's a violent fringe that will say, I want to take action. There might be 1/100th of 1% of the fringe who say that means I should commit an act of violence. Man, the FBI is an open organization. I served at both the CIA and the FBI. The CIA was closed, the FBI is open. Those offices are public facilities. Those offices interact with the public. If 1/100th of 1% of the population says, I need to commit an act of violence, those people, the FBI employees, are under threat. Let me close with one other issue on defunding. If you think that state and local police can follow the Iranians, follow the Chinese, follow the Russians, follow one of the most horrific things in America, that is cyber pornography against infants. If you think they can follow white-collar crime, if you think they can follow mortgage fraud, that is not a state and local problem. You may object to what happened in Mar-a-Lago, but if you say defund the FBI, let your kid be abused by an adult. That's what the FBI does. Good luck, Jim.
Yeah. Lauren Boebert's husband is one of those predators that exposes his goods to little kids in bowling alleys. Okay, this is who they are. Matt Getz, he traffics in minors too and pays for them on Venmo. I mean, Jim Jordan, he watched a freaking wrestling coach abuse countless boys in the shower and said absolutely nothing and covered for the guy when the kids came forward and said, the kids are lying. The kids are lying. Why do you think the conversation around child molestation is so loud now? It's because that is what Republicans are covering up for. The idea that you're talking about Hunter Biden and not Jared or Ivanka and the millions they made, that's why.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
What I call the Trump death toll continues to rise, and it rose last week, as you referenced in Ohio, with a man who really caught the disease of disinformation, bought this big lie about the FBI search. We have Trump and his minions just inspiring people to radicalization without any facts attached to it. No mention of a subpoena that failed, no mention of probable cause and a magistrate and the process that works, no mention that top secret compartmented information was indeed found, or that Trump's lawyer claimed to the government that they had given everything back to the government, and that was false. The facts aren't getting in the way of people who simply want to consume conspiracy theories, even to their own demise. And, we saw yesterday at FBI Phoenix, armed protesters carrying even assault-style rifles in front of an FBI building. So, you mentioned the death toll from Trump so far with regard to the Capitol. And, Ashley Babbitt was shot because she bought the big lie. But police officers died as the result of defending the Capitol, including suicides amongst police officers. And let's go a step further with regard to what Trump and his minions spew out that radicalizes people. The El Paso Walmart shooter, in his writings, echoed the very language of Trump with regard to quote-unquote brown invaders at the border. The Buffalo supermarket shooter posted again about white replacement theory that comes straight out of Fox News entertainment hosts. So, look, it's responsible for people dying, and the body count, unless something drastically different happens, is going to continue to rise. What we're experiencing now with this FBI raid and the response to it could be just a dry run with regard to what we may experience if Trump is actually charged, indicted with something, either related to the classified documents or to the attempt to overturn a valid election. This is a glimpse of what we may be in for and the strategy that we'll see from Trump and his minions.
I mean, this is crazy. Like here you have the United States of America doing really well. Okay. Gas today, when I drove by my gas station, was $3.39. $3.39. The jobs report was unbelievable. Almost 600,000 new jobs were created. We're not in a recession, okay? It's not happening. Wages are still going up. We created 600,000 jobs in manufacturing in this country since Biden has been president of the United States. COVID is not really a thing anymore. I mean, it's still a coronavirus. It's still out there. You can still catch it, but you won't die from it because you probably had it, or you decided to be proactive and get vaccinated and boosted, especially if you were high risk. And now you can go about the country, go about your business. Now you can travel. Hotels are coming down in price. Airline tickets are coming down in price. Wages are going up, right? And people are, I've never seen them more angry. I've never seen them more hostile. I've never seen them more aggrieved. Then now. They literally, you gave them guns. You told them that they could bring them out in public. They're bringing them out in public, and they're literally threatening law enforcement, the people who back the blue, the people who said that Oh, my God. That defund the police was an atrocity. It was an attack on the American way of life. All these progressives that wanted to talk about, no-knock warrants, and all of these progressives that wanted to talk about the fact that you can't fire a police officer, and that if you manage to fire a police officer, that police officer's record doesn't follow him, and he or she can go to another state, they can go to another county, they could go to another city and get another job in law enforcement and do the same damn thing all over again. But to say that we should look at the rules around policing in this country. Oh, you were anti-American. There was something wrong. This reminds me of support the troops, okay? This whole crap about support the troops. You support the troops by not putting them in a lied about war. You support the troops by not going into Afghanistan. Yeah, Biden, he actually ended a 20-year war. Well, we didn't like the way it ended. We didn't like the way it ended. Therefore, he's the bastard. Oh, yeah, not the Republican Party that lied about the need to go there in the first place or to attack Iraq, a country that did nothing to us. I mean, it's just so amazing how inconsistent and how they are immune to irony. They are immune to the fact that they are a party full of pedophiles. They are a party full of haters. They are a party full of miscreants. They are a party full of lawbreakers. I mean, Lauren Boebert herself, she doesn't show up for court when she's supposed to show up for court. Her husband is a drunk. He's out there picking fights with people. They're all armed, and their children are armed on their Christmas card. And then they have the nerve to talk about banana republics. They're making us look like a banana republic. In banana republics, no one is accountable if they're high enough on the food chain for anything they do. Nothing. Everything goes unpunished. Everything goes unpunished. There is no accountability for the elite in a banana republic. They're just stealing. And Donald Trump learned one thing. In chaos, you could steal. And that's why he's a chaos agent. That's why he loves chaos. In chaos, you can steal. You can rob people blind. You can literally take money from the Treasury and legally hand it to the wealthiest Americans. And as long as you speak about brown people, or as long as you say that children are going to be persecuted or separated from their parents in a very Nazi-like way, then they're all about whatever you want to do is fine with us, including stealing from us. Go ahead and steal from us. And it's just so unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And now, intelligence, like compartmentalized, eyes only, need to know, above top secret intel is in his house. In his house. And he lies about it. Oh, they're not going to find anything. Well, they found something. Well, that's because they planted it. But I declassified it. Well, how did you declassify what they planted? How did that work? I mean, it's just so amazing, the amount of bullcrap that you have to believe in order to be willing to, I don't know, support him, let alone die for him. This is crazy. The FBI, the DH, everybody's reporting like dirty bomb threats.
It's an extraordinary warning. The FBI, joined by the Department of Homeland Security, issuing a stark bulletin to state, local, and tribal law enforcement right across the country, warning of, quote, an unprecedented increase in threats and acts of violence directed against FBI personnel and other government officials. These threats are just erupting right now on pro-Trump social media and other online platforms, and some of them get very specific. This bulletin cites a dirty bomb threat targeting the FBI headquarters here behind me in Washington, as well as the targeted killing of judicial and law enforcement personnel involved in that Mar-a-Lago search. All this coming after the killing of an armed suspect outside the FBI's field office in Cincinnati. The FBI saying that these kinds of threats, calls for armed rebellion and civil war, are erupting more and more by the day.
Jesus. You want to fight? Go overseas. Go to Somalia. Go to a place where everybody plays this crazy civil war game. Go there. Don't try this here.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
This is the mainstreaming of mania, right? It is the legitimizing of lunatic theories, lies, conspiracy theories. So when something goes mainstream, it's because elected officials, House, Senate, even from the Oval Office, a former president, even mainstream media, fringe media, all shooting out the same dangerous theories, allows people to think this must be legitimate school of thought. I can adhere to this. And so they seek affirmation in doing whatever they feel commanded to do. We saw a call to arms this week, Jonathan. A pundit after pundit on far-right media using the language of battle. You know, we're at war. We're going to war. This is a civil war now, repeatedly. And there must be accountability here. If people die, there should be lawsuits. The gentleman in Ohio who lost his life in a cornfield, his family should be thinking about suing everyone in the media and in government who gave him the thoughts that the FBI was behind some kind of conspiracy theory here. We've got to hold these folks accountable, or we're going to get more of same.
Yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. And the idea that, they need to be held accountable for screaming and yelling, this is war, civil war, Gestapo, Nazi, blah, 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 this and that, the FBI. Because now not only did the FBI politely ask to have documents returned to the National Archives that needed to be, kept safe, but that they went down there and they asked again, and then they went down there and they served a subpoena. Then they looked at some of the surveillance video and they saw that some of the most, important, sources and methods and nuclear whatever, we don't know if it was, science-y tech documents or if it was how to use the football, or we don't know if it was our nuclear program or if it was an ally's nuclear program or if it was an enemy's nuclear, whatever it was, didn't belong being carried in and out of a storage room at a hotel. And he denied that he had anything. His lawyer denied that they had anything. His lawyer signed a document saying there's nothing else here. And of course they were lying. Somebody needs to be held accountable for that. And now you have the maniacs. You have the Waco types, the Ruby Ridge ones, the seriously demented ones. I mean, 800 of them went to jail already for him. 800 of them went to jail for him. Ashley Babbitt is dead because of his lies. 140 police officers were injured. You have a woman who was trampled to death on January 6th. Okay? You have a guy that had a heart attack. Another guy had a stroke January 6th. All because this man likes chaos. Because in chaos, you can steal everything. Everything. Nuclear secrets, billions of dollars, get paid around the world. I honestly, drain the swamp. Drain the swamp. The man read you a poem about you knew I was a snake. You knew I was a snake before you let me in. He was mocking you. And you let him do that? Drain the swamp. The swamp is full of snakes and gators now. The most disgusting creatures are walking around with our stuff, our secrets. Names, dates, times, places, technology, science, you name it. Plans, blueprints, locations. Oh my God. And everybody has told you there was no standing declassification order, because if there were, then these documents would be available to everybody. Everybody, including the media, including CNN. They could get access to anything declassified. This is all garbage in, garbage out. All of it. And it's getting really, really stinking dangerous. Not for me, for you. For the people out there who think that they're going to take on the FBI, for the people out there that think they're going to take on the U.S. government, they're going to start a civil war. You want to start a civil war? Go someplace where there is a civil war and go, donate your life. Go someplace where, people are fighting right now and, volunteer. Sharon in West Virginia.
Hey, Randy.
Hey.
Here's what I've been thinking, but wondering about. I don't have any answers. Trump, you talked about it just a couple segments ago. He never read his briefings.
No.
He didn't know. He didn't care. So, how somebody had to be assisting him.
Right.
In compiling these documents.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter. Yeah, go follow me on Twitter at Randi Rhodes, because that, as soon as before we knew what this stuff was, I said it was going to be nuclear secrets, okay? And people were like, how dare you? You have no proof. You have no, I go, just watch. We'll know soon enough. And then, of course, we found out. So now the next question is, who helped him get this information? Because he wouldn't understand anything. He wouldn't.
I don't even think Jared's bright enough. I say maybe Jared was told. I don't know. I'm speculating. I'm getting.
You know who? It's guys like Michael Flynn. Okay, that's yes, right. And so, Michael Flynn was the director of national intelligence before Obama fired his ass, right? And then Donald Trump hired him back and put him in as the national security advisor to the United States of America, okay? This is a guy who shouldn't have a security clearance. This is a guy who sits at dinner with Vladimir Putin. This is a guy who, pals around with terrorists. Honestly, somebody had to show him what was valuable, because there's no way Donald Trump would know.
Flynn makes sense. I might even sign up for Twitter. You have a good evening.
Thank you. Seriously, there is no way Donald Trump would know where somebody had to give him the document. Somebody had to help him get the document. Somebody had to tell him what to ask for to be brought to him. Okay? There is no way he would understand any schematics or technical drawings or technical, equations or latitude and longitudinal information about locations. Or this man reads nothing. Nothing. So he had help getting these documents. He had help from the inside. Now, was it Chad over at DHS? Because it's always a guy named Chad. Didn't I tell you that? Or was it Flynn? Well, now, Flynn was out of the administration pretty early on, but he still had a security clearance. And don't I keep telling you how creepy it is that Flynn would have a security clearance? This whole thing is such a cabal. That's what I'm telling you. It's going to be a RICO act. It's going, and that trial... Because, listen, the only time you make a plea deal, or the only time a plea deal is offered, let's put it that way, when prosecutors offer you a plea deal, okay, it's because they're looking for somebody bigger than you, or they don't want to go to the expense of a trial. I just don't think that there's a plea deal in the offing for Donald Trump, who is the king of MAGA, okay? He's the king of this RICO organization. He's the top guy in the organization, the racketeering, influence, corrupt organization. So I just don't see that there's, a plea deal in the offing for him. So you realize that trial is going to make O.J. Simpson's going to make the Peterson boys, whatever, it's going to look like, Judge Judy. It's going to look like the People's Court. It's going to look like Judge Mathis. Please, everybody around the world is going to watch that. But you remember how OJ ended with a split screen? That's what's going to happen. On one side, you're going to have the maggots, and on the other side, you're going to have the decent people. And something's going to clash. Something's going to not be widely accepted by the crazy people. And I don't know if we're going to end up with another Waco. I don't know if we're going to end up with a Murrah building. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like, but something bad it has to happen to give us a reprieve from something bad. Something bad happens like every 20 years. Nancy in Alabama.
Hey, Randy. Love your show.
Thank you.
I'm wondering what you think about if Republicans are going to help and vote for Democrats to help save America.
Well, you got to kind of realize that there's very, very, very few Republicans left, okay? So they're about 25% now of the entire population.
Well, we need them to vote Democrat.
I understand, and I think a good chunk of them will. But remember, districts are gerrymandered so that Democrats who have a majority are chopped in half or chopped in quarters and, diluted. Their power is diluted because there are so many more of us. What we're looking at with the Republican Party is minority rule. And that's why they're so devious, and that's why they're so chaotic, and that's why they're so nasty, and that's why they're so violent. It's the only way that they can cobble together enough people for them to retain power in gerrymandered districts. Now, tomorrow, Wyoming, do yourself a favor and vote for Liz Cheney. I can't believe I said that.
Mary had a little lamb. We believe that all men are created
equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America. From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America. Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
All I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have.
This now infamous call.
And flipping the state is a great testament to our country.
Helped to spark a special purpose grand jury investigation in Georgia. But it's not only what he said, but what he said, setting up a possible showdown in Atlanta.
They have now told me that I'm a target of their Atlanta investigation.
The ex-president's former lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, now a target in the investigation into whether Donald Trump and his allies violated the law in their attempt to flip election results in Georgia. Investigators scrutinizing Giuliani's appearances before state lawmakers in 2020, where he peddled baseless claims of widespread irregularities and voter fraud, attacking voting machines.
Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, this is not a machine you want counting your votes.
And a week later, Georgia election workers.
They look like they're passing out dope, not just ballots. It is quite clear they're stealing votes.
Those statements came after other false claims Giuliani made regarding the Georgia recount following Trump's loss.
They're counting the same fraudulent ballots. The recount being done in Georgia will tell us nothing, because these fraudulent ballots will just be counted again.
In the case of Rudy Giuliani, his involvement in all the other stuff, but also his involvement in attempting to influence the Georgia legislature and making false statements to the Georgia legislature about the existence of fraud. And, you can't make you can say whatever you want on TV, but if you make false statements to the government and government officials, like the legislators, that's potentially a crime.
We're starting to live in a fascist state.
Giuliani on Monday seeming to give a glimpse into a possible defense.
I was his lawyer of record in that case. The statements that I made are either attorney-client privileged because they were between me and him, or they were being made on his behalf in order to defend him.
There's something called the crime fraud exception. And if they're sitting and talking about criminal activity, there's no attorney-client privilege.
The news about Rudy Giuliani being targeted coming the same day a judge ruled that Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina must testify before the Fulton County grand jury. He denies pressuring Georgia's Secretary of State to toss legal ballots and is expected to testify next week.
Whoops.
Giuliani is expected to appear Wednesday. No word if he will invoke his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination.
I think this is moving ahead at full speed, and I expect that it'll be a pretty devastating case that will include Donald Trump.
Believe me.
Yes, it will. Happy Tuesday, everybody. It's Taco Tuesday, I guess. Fajita Tuesday at my house. But this is starting to look like I don't know, circling the drain. Listen, you want to make bets on like how long it's going to be before Donald Trump is arrested and frog marched, or if he will be arrested and frog marched, or if he will be arrested in private or allowed to surrender himself. How will it go? What is it that you see happening? Because no matter how it happens, It will happen. That's just a gimme now. Whether it's a RICO case where all of these crimes are just, included in one grand charge of running a racketeering, influenced, corrupt organization, or if it's individual cases like, deleting Secret Service messages or stealing classified information, or going down to Georgia with the other devil and, looking for votes to steal because they were in a bind, they were way behind, and they were willing to make a deal. Fake electors or calling for violence, or now we're finding out that they actually did do what they were telling talk show hosts in the right-wing sphere. They actually did seize data from voting machines. They actually did do it. And that they, especially in Georgia, they were they copied data from voting machines. That's illegal too. So is Rudy being asked to testify so that he can make a deal and flip on Donald Trump, or would we like to see a twofer here? Would we like to see a twofer?
I was talking with a buddy of mine. We were doing this just today excitedly, maybe too excitedly, I got to admit. But what's the percentage he runs? What's the percentage he flips?
Oh, he's running.
What's the This is a fun game to play, but again, I can't let you get me too excited.
About Donald Trump running?
I meant fleeing, like...
flight risk. Flight risk.
Fleeing the interview.
Well, I mean, his plane says Trump on it in giant letters, so it'd be kind of hard to evade, authorities in that in that little respect. I do know that when the warrant was executed upon Mar-a-Lago, Magaloco, when the warrant was executed, they accidentally took 3 of his passports. Now, people were speculating then if it was because the Department of Justice imagines that Donald Trump is a flight risk, and the answer is no, because they returned those passports to Donald Trump. 2 of them were expired. But the really sick, twisted one is the one that he travels on is a diplomatic passport. There is no way that a person that steals classified information or even, not classified information, government information, and has his lawyer swear in an affidavit. It's the affidavit. Swear in an affidavit that they had turned everything that they had over when they clearly knew, or they should have known, that their client still retained documents that did not belong to him. So those lawyers, they're likely to flip too. I mean, there's so much going on that, it blows your mind. But that Donald Trump is a person who mishandles government information, that mishandles, top secret and compartmented secret information. They should revoke his diplomatic passport. That's one thing I would say. Let him go apply for a new passport like I had to. Let him go do that. Let him go through the 6-week waiting period. Let him go to the office and apply for a passport. But listen, here's the thing. Rudy's claiming attorney-client privilege. Well, you in my audience, you're smarter than that. We know better than that. We know that if the lawyer and the client are sitting around planning a caper, or sitting around talking about crimes that they want to commit or did commit or want to commit again or whatever it is, or something's in the process, there is a crime fraud exception to attorney-client privilege. So that doesn't exist for Rudy, because obviously they were planning a caper, or 2 or 3 or 9, right? The other part of Rudy's thing that won't hold water is that Rudy was talking to other people. Now, you have attorney-client privilege with, your client if you're not talking in the presence of others. So that goes away because they're talking in front of Eastman. They're talking in front of Sidney Powell. They're talking in front of Jenna Ellis. They're talking in front of all these freaking people. They're talking, openly at, the landscaping place. I mean, so that goes away. And then, of course, the executive privilege idea, that's bullcrap too, because if you're talking in front of other people, then there is no executive privilege. So any privilege that he would claim he has is just going to go away. The court will not, view that as being privileged or protected information. But now Lindsey Graham has to go down to Georgia. Lindsey Graham, he tried so hard to flee the interview. He tried so hard to say, the what is it called? The something and debate act, speech and debate act or something. It covers me as a U.S. senator. Bull crap. It doesn't cover you as a U.S. senator. You called Georgia and asked them to throw out absentee ballots, and you did it for political purposes. You didn't do it for legislative purposes. You weren't trying to legislate on behalf of the Georgia state legislatures, how they should conduct their elections. You have no place, no role to play there. You were calling on behalf of your political patron. You were calling because you're a political parasite. And you had attached yourself to a slug. You attached yourself to a thug. You attached yourself to a criminal. So the court ruled he has to show up and testify.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
There's a technical definition of target, and I actually pulled out my old U.S. Attorney's Manual. That's sort of the procedural Bible by which we federal prosecutors do business. And it's a definition of target that is pretty much universally accepted, even in the state systems. And I want to read it verbatim. A target is a person as to whom the prosecutor or the grand jury has substantial evidence linking him or her to the commission of a crime, and who, in the judgment of the prosecutor, is a putative defendant. And I can translate that into English, Lawrence. A target is the guy we're looking to indict.
But not necessarily the only guy in any particular grand jury.
No, we can have multiple targets. And the fact that Rudy Giuliani's lawyers were just put on notice by District Attorney Fani Willis that he is a target in the grand jury's investigation does not preclude other targets. We all sort of know, based on the way the evidence has developed, that Donald Trump is a likely target. And then we may be hearing Lindsey Graham sort of earning himself the distinguished title of target the way things are going.
Okay, I'm sorry. Just enjoying a brief moment of respite here for our equal justice under law thing that we think we got going on here, and just imagining that it could be true. Just imagining that it could be true that we would have equal justice under law, considering that we have Donald Trump on tape saying, "I need you to rig the election for me." Rudy Giuliani on tape falsely testifying in front of the Georgia legislature. Now, you can lie on the TV. You can lie at the Four Seasons Landscaping. You can lie there. You can lie on Fox News, you can, as we all know. In fact, lying on Fox News is so garden variety that they use it as a defense when they get sued for defamation. They say, no one would believe anything that we say. No reasonable person. And they use the reasonable man standard, which is funny when you consider who the audience is. But that's what they use in court, the reasonable man standard. And they argue to the jury and to a judge that no reasonable man would believe anything Tucker Carlson says or anything Greg Gutfeldt or anything anybody on Fox News says. And that holds water. That holds up under questioning. The reasonable man standard. Nobody would believe. But you can't lie to the government. You can't lie to the legislature, which is what Rudy did. This is what Donald Trump did. You can't extort people, which is what Donald Trump is on tape doing. You can't incite violence, which is what was going on in Georgia, to the point where, remember Gabriel Sterling got on the TV and said this has got to stop?
Stop inspiring people to commit potential acts of violence. Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get shot. Someone's going to get killed. And it's not right. It's not right. It has all gone too far. All of it. Joe DeGenova today asked for Chris Krebs, a patriot who ran CISA, to be shot. A 20-something tech in Gwinnett County today has death threats and a noose put out saying he should be hung for treason because he was transferring a report on batches from an EMS to a county computer so he could read it. It has to stop. Mr. President, you have not condemned these actions or this language.
Whoops.
Senators, you have not condemned this language or these actions.
Whoops.
This has to stop.
You remember that? I remember that. I think you remember that too. But yeah, all of this activity, all of this extortion, all of this incitement to violence, all of this, whipping up a frenzy over a giant lie that was told to the government in Georgia is illegal. It's illegal. You cannot do it. So now Lindsey Graham has to go down to Georgia. Rudy, of course, the reason why they tell you that you are a target of an investigation is so that you can make an educated guess about whether or not this is your chance to tell your side of the story, or if you should invoke your your right to not incriminate yourself in a criminal inquiry and exert your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. So I can probably, Rudy didn't want to go. He's been avoiding going. He lied to the court. He said he couldn't travel. He said he was so sick he couldn't travel. And Fani Willis, she actually found evidence that Rudy had traveled after he claims he was diagnosed with something that told him that he can't travel. But he did travel by air. And in fact, they told him, if you can't fly, we'll send you a plane ticket. We'll send you a train ticket. If you can't fly, get an Uber. Come on down. Get in your car. Drive. But Rudy was lying then too. Rudy is probably going to go tomorrow and take his Fifth Amendment right, because that's what Donald Trump just did, and he did it in a civil case. Okay, they can't tell the truth because the truth will not set them free. Lindsey Graham can't tell the truth. So what's left? What's left to do for Fani Willis if Rudy is being summoned and everybody knows he's a target, and that means that he will likely invoke his Fifth Amendment right to not incriminate himself. What does that mean? Let's see.
So at this stage, the most likely choice for Giuliani is the Fifth Amendment at the grand jury. Then what's the prosecutor's choice?
Mm-hmm.
So the prosecutor's choice will be to proceed with the investigation. And the fact that DA Willis has already announced that Rudy Giuliani is a target of the criminal probe suggests to us that she has met that threshold to have somebody designated a target. Substantial evidence linking him to the crime and an intent to indict. So he can invoke the Fifth, and, that may give him some momentary comfort because he won't be compelled to incriminate himself. But that does not stop Fani Willis from asking the grand jury to indict Rudy Giuliani.
What did Donald Trump's lawyers see in this development?
Well, listen, if he ends up being criminally indicted for any number of violations of Georgia state law, then that certainly ratchets up the pressure. And we prosecutors say pressure bursts pipes. So I think that will increase the odds that Rudy Giuliani may decide to save himself and flip, turn, and cooperate against Donald Trump.
The irony is so delicious considering his influence on the RICO statutes, how many people he made flip the mafia, and now it's beautiful.
That's what Celebrity Apprentice was really about. That's how Donald Trump plays. He likes to pit one against the other, but he always thought that he was above it all. He always thought that it was other people that would go, at each other, that no one would come after him because he was too powerful. He was too strong. He was too smart. We'll see. We'll see, because one is being set upon the other now, just like it was a Celebrity Apprentice, except this is criminal. And you don't get booted off the show. You get taken to federal prison. Yeah, you go to the federal pen.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
All right, this is Rudy Giuliani's former press secretary.
Listen, Rudy flew too close to the sun. He got too close to Trump. He got burned. He knows how DOJ works. He knows how the FBI works. He knows these are meticulous investigations. I know this is not a popular position with the media, but I think we should take a wait and see. that the affidavit shouldn't be released. I'm doubling back to the earlier conversation. I know he's nervous. He could have flown to Georgia. He flies all over the world. So that's just a typical tactic to try to postpone the inevitable.
Why do you think he's nervous about this Georgia investigation?
Because he knows the truth. He knows he lied to legislators. He knows that he concocted this false elector scheme. He knows he lied for his client. And he knows we all know. It's clear.
What's his next move?
Delay. Kick the can down the road. I think, at this point in his life, his goal is to die a free man.
How sad. How sad. The mayor of the United States, okay, America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani, who was so prescient that he put the emergency response center to 9/11 in the World Trade Center. Just saying. But yeah, Rudy is, trying to die a free man. You know what that tells you? That tells you Rudy is going to flip. Rudy will make a deal. Rudy will sell out Donald Trump and tell, at long last, the truth of the fake electors, the truth of the Green Bay sweep, the truth of that they hacked data. They really did do it. They took data, sensitive data from election systems in Georgia and other states, in this secretive multi-state effort to access voting equipment that was signaled to us by Michael Flynn on right-wing lunatic fringy shows, right? We know that. We know all kinds of things that, we have found out in the last 2 years about everything that they did to not only steal the election, to overturn the election, that they targeted Mike Pence for death so he couldn't certify the election, but then they wiped Secret Service phones. Oh, so now this Kufari guy, who the investigator, the inspector general for the Department of Homeland Security, headed up by a guy named Chad. Yeah, Chad Wolf. Today, the House of Representatives, they just sent a letter to him saying, you're obstructing this investigation, and you know it. So they're starting to, get keen on, this is the January 6th, investigation. This is separate and apart from the Department of Justice's investigation, which is separate and apart from the Georgia District Attorney's investigation in the state of Georgia. I mean, you've got a federal at the Department of Justice, you've got a state in Georgia, and you've got the Congress who are just trying to protect the American voting apparatus. They're just trying to figure out how do we protect ourselves, from this ever happening again. That's the whole purpose of the... Oh, and speaking of the January 6th committee, today is the day Liz Cheney will probably lose her... she won't lose her seat, but she will lose her primary. Okay, because she has principles and integrity and dared to stand up for democracy. She dared to stand up to Donald Trump. She dared to stand up for the American way of life. She dared to do that. This is a woman who voted 90% of the time, if not more, with Donald Trump. I mean, if you say to me, I only vote for the congressman that returns the goods to me, I only pick people to represent me who actually understand me and my life and my needs and my business and my family and, you're so full of crap. You're so full of crap. Because if you're a Republican in Wyoming today, you know that Liz Cheney delivered for you. You know that Liz Cheney is an uber conservative. You know that Liz Cheney has, voted with Donald Trump over and over and over, which is why I could never vote for her. But the idea that you're voting for her simply because she has integrity, you need to process that, because that is why you're voting against her. You don't want anybody with integrity. You don't want anybody who believes in democracy. You don't want anybody who has principles. Okay, that say there is a line that you cannot cross in this here country. We are not an autocracy. We're not a banana republic. People who break the law are not above the law. People who break the law and scheme and lie and incite violence against Congress and target our own capital need to be addressed. Now, remember, she can't prosecute him. She can't take away his liberty. She can't, do anything like that at all. Neither can Adam Kinzinger, neither can anybody on the January 6th Select Committee, okay? They can't do anything criminally. They can't sentence anybody to anything, But you're going to vote against her in Wyoming. Liz, I just want to tell you, people in Wyoming who are independents and or Democrats, you know, if maybe I hope you do, and if you don't, maybe this is news to you, and you'll say, oh, I didn't know that. I'm going to do it. Wyoming has same-day registration, meaning you can go and register today and vote today. Now, you can really, unnerve people and vote for the Democrat because they got ranked choice voting in Wyoming, meaning, Republicans, Democrats, they all have a shot. But honestly, this is crazy to tell yourself that you're voting against Liz Cheney for any other reason except that she has integrity and principles and protects the Constitution of the United States from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And don't worry about Liz Cheney. I mean, she'll be fine. She's probably going to run for president. Now let's move over to Alaska real quick because you're having a primary today too. Lisa Murkowski, she is, your senator, one of your two. She's on the ballot today. She's being primaried today. Let me just remind you that Lisa Murkowski doesn't really take no for an answer. So if you, somehow decide she's not loyal enough for you, she's not the stuff that champions are made of in Alaska. Just remember the last time she lost her primary, she ran as a write-in candidate. She's got a lot of skill. She's got a lot of skill. She's got a lot of enthusiasm. She's got a lot of, I don't take no for an answer in her. She's perfect for you, Alaska. But if for some reason, you're not in the mood. Also, you got the 14-year-old redo, okay, Sarah Palin, literally trying to get $165,000 a year paid to her for doing absolutely nothing. She's running for Congress. Really? Joe the plumber. Yeah. She's running on inside the same party that said that John McCain is a traitor to his nation. John McCain is not a war hero. She's running supporting the guy who said that about her running mate 14 years ago. Yeah. People have no sensitivity to hypocrisy or irony or right or wrong in that party, because that party isn't a party. That party is an organized force of sedition. That party isn't a party. That party wants to burn this country down. That party is a terrorist organization. That party is a cult at best. At worst, they're a terrorist organization. Oh, by the way, another guy, 46-year-old white guy from Pennsylvania named Adam Bryce, arrested trying to kill FBI agents, targeting them all, saying, I just want to kill as many of them as I can. Let them take me out. I'm not going to die in jail. He's in jail. He's in jail.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show.
To
speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
So with all this evil in the world and all this violence and all of this incitement and all of these liars and all of these criminals and all of these cheats who were very, 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 very much had their hands on the levers of power in this country for 4 long years and now 2 years trying to hold them accountable for the criminal activities that they engaged in so that they could enrich themselves or keep themselves in power. We now have a serious government. We have a serious president who has done an amazing job with a 50-50 freaking Senate. What I said to you yesterday, that is no majority, zero. There is nothing less than zero majority. Okay. And still, we saw $1.2 billion invested in our infrastructure. We saw gun legislation. We saw veterans health care expanded for the first time in I don't know how many years. We see NATO stronger than ever, increasing its size by including Finland and Sweden in it. And now we have this bill that Biden is about to sign, the Inflation Reduction Act. He's just about to sign it. The actual ceremony has begun. And this bill invests almost $400 billion in climate, I don't know what to say, mitigation, reversing the effects of greenhouse gases by 40% in 8 years. It will create about 9 million new jobs associated with green energy. That doesn't even take into account the other bill, the chips manufacturing bill, where we're going to manufacture our own semiconductors. Listen, I got to tell you, I've been trying to find a car. I've been trying to, switch over, get a car that's more, energy with it. And there are no cars. There are no cars. Everything's in transit or in production. No one has a damn car, right? They want to buy your used car. Oh, yeah, that they want, so that they have something to sell, because they don't have any new cars. And, when I buy a car, I buy new because I'm going to drive it for 10 years. So the car I have now is 10 years old. 10 years old. I drive them until the wheels fall off. That's me. I don't trade them in. I just drive until the wheels fall. Anyway, so this is all a result of not having enough semiconductors, right? And so this is one of the things that we're going to do here in the United States of America. So 9 million new jobs with this particular Inflation Reduction Act. And listen, let me just tell you one thing before I switch over to the signing ceremony. There were parts that were left out, as you know. Okay, the child care part, the pre-K part, the child tax credit part, things like that, family leave. You keep the House and add to the Senate 2 more senators, we get those things too. Yeah. All right, let's listen to Joe Biden sign this bill.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Majority Leader Schumer.
Oh.
Chuck, you've been a good friend a long, long time. And Joe, I never had a doubt. Joe had an operation on his shoulder. I just want you to know it wasn't because of anything we did. He's in great shape. And our whip, Mr. Clyburn, you're amazing. And I am reminded often by my staff, were not for you, your wife telling you to endorse me, I wouldn't be standing here. But thank you very, very much. And also, Congresswoman Castor, and my good friend Frank Pallone, Congressman Pallone. Thank you for your leadership. While they couldn't be here, I especially want to thank Nancy Pelosi, who was instrumental in this law, and Vice President Harris for an incredible work she did. And I'm about to sign the Inflation Reduction Act into law, one of the most significant laws in our history. Let me say from the start, with this law, the American people won, and the special interests lost.
Yay.
The American people won, and the special interests lost. We're in a session of, for a while, people doubted whether any of that was going to happen. But we are in a season of substance. This administration began amid a dark time in America. As Jim said, a once-in-a-century pandemic, devastating joblessness, clear and present threats to democracy and the rule of law, doubts about America's future itself. And yet, we've not wavered, we've not flinched, and we've not given in. Instead, we're delivering results for the American people. We didn't tear down, we built up, we didn't look back, we looked forward, and today offers further proof that the soul of America is vibrant, the future of America is bright, and the promise of America is real and just beginning. Look, the bill I'm about to sign is not just about today, it's about tomorrow. It's about delivering progress and prosperity to American families. It's about showing the American and the American people that democracy still works in America, notwithstanding all the talk of its demise. Not just for the privileged few, but for all of us. I swore an oath of office to you and to God to faithfully execute the duties of this sacred office. To me, the critical duty of the president is to defend what is best about America. And that's not hyperbole. Defend what's best about America, to pursue justice, to ensure fairness, deliver results that create possibilities that all of us can live a life of consequence and prosperity in a nation that's safe and secure. That's the job. Fulfilling that pledge to you guides me every single hour of every single day in this job. Presidents should be judged not only by our words, but by our deeds. Not by our rhetoric, but by our actions. Not by our promise, but by reality. And today is part of an extraordinary story that's being written by this administration and our brave allies in the Congress. This law This law that I'm about to sign finally delivers on a promise that Washington has made for decades to the American people. I got here as a 29-year-old kid. We were promising to make sure that Medicare would have the power to negotiate lower drug prices back then. Back then, prescription drug prices. But guess what? We're giving Medicare the power to negotiate those prices now on some drugs. This means seniors are going to pay less for the prescription drugs, while we're changing circumstances for people in Medicare by putting a cap of a maximum of $2,000 a year on their prescription drug costs, no matter what the reason for those prescriptions are. That means if you're on Medicare, you'll never have to pay more than $2,000 a year, no matter how many prescriptions you have, whether it's for cancer or any other disease. No more than $2,000 a year. And you all know it because a lot of you come from families that need this. This is a godsend. This is a godsend to many families, and so long overdue. The Inflation Reduction Act locks in place lower health care premiums for millions of families who get their coverage under the Affordable Care Act. Last year, a family of 4 saved on average $2,400 through the American Rescue Plan that I signed into law that the Congress voted in place. In the years ahead, thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, 13 million people are going to continue to save an average of $800 a year on health insurance. The Inflation Reduction Act invests $369 billion to take the most aggressive action ever in confronting the climate crisis and strengthening our energy security. It's going to offer working families thousands of dollars in savings by providing them rebates to buy new and efficient appliances, weatherize their homes, get tax credit for purchasing heat pumps and rooftop solar, electric stoves, ovens, dryers. It gives consumers a tax credit to buy electric vehicles or fuel cell vehicles, new or used. And it gives them a tax credit of up to $7,500 if those vehicles were made in America. American auto companies, along with American labor, are committing their treasure and their talent, billions of dollars in investment to make electric vehicles and battery and electric charging stations all across America. Made in America. All of it made in America. This new law also provides tax credits that's going to create tens of thousands of good-paying jobs and clean energy manufacturing jobs, solar factories in the Midwest and the South, wind farms across the plains and off our shores, clean hydrogen projects, and more all across America, every part of America. This bill is the biggest step forward on climate ever. And it's going to allow us to boldly take additional steps toward meeting all of my climate goals, the ones we set out when we ran. It includes ensuring that we create clean energy opportunities in frontline and fence-line communities that have been smothered by the legacy of pollution. And fight environmental injustice that's been going on for so long.
So I think you understand this is a major piece of legislation, and you add it up with all the other pieces of legislation that we went over, and we'll go over again, and you realize that this is what he said. This is a season of substance, not bullcrap rhetoric. These are real achievements that will build us up, not tear us apart.
Mary had a little man.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America. From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream. Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Even Donald Trump feels it. Maybe for the first time in his life, Donald Trump seems sincerely interested in lowering the temperature, not just for his own sake, but for the country's. He said that. He's never said anything like that. Maybe he doesn't mean it, but when has he ever said that? Let's all calm down a little, he said the other day. This isn't good. Yeah, he's right. It's not good, and not just for him, for all of us. This could get very bad, very fast. And the Biden people know that perfectly well. They know what could happen if they continue down this path of using law enforcement to cling to power. But they don't care.
To cling to power.
Because they're facing a repudiation from voters. And
okay, this is such garbage that, they spew, because we just had an amazing moment. We just had the most substantive summer I think we've ever had legislatively. Usually it's the dog days of August. Usually it's the hot, summer recess period. Nothing really gets done. Nothing gets done. We just had the President of the United States with a 50-50 Senate and a 5-seat majority in the House of Representatives preside over one of the greatest expansions of job-creating pieces of legislation I have ever seen in my life. It's an amazing accomplishment. In 18 months, in 18 short months that are fraught with craziness and criminal activity and investigations and hearings and Department of Justice and witnesses and witness tampering and documents and a damage assessment on our intelligence, capabilities, like what was given away or what was, put in jeopardy at the very least. We were able to see a $1.2 trillion investment in our own country, in our own infrastructure. We saw a little bit of bipartisan legislation on some gun issues, a little bit, just a tad, just a touch, acknowledging that maybe we ought to have some red flag laws, although we have these Republican states that would rather die at the barrel of a crazy maggot's gun than do background checks. So we had to incentivize them with dollars, with cash, to try and get them to do red flag background checks, just to take a gun away from somebody who's likely to commit a crime, who's likely to commit suicide, who's likely to kill their wife and their family for 48 hours while they cool the hell off. Can't even get that. Okay, we increased the availability. And we had all these Republicans yell at you and tell you veterans don't deserve this health care. Rand Paul actually said out loud on TV that he doesn't believe that veterans should have veterans health care for things that he deems are not actually service connected. And while some people are getting respiratory illnesses like mesothelioma and cancer and asthma and all kinds of odd brain cancers and blood cancers from being around toxic burn pits, he doesn't think that just saying that you were deployed in a place where you were around a toxic burn pit ought to give you the health care that you earned by sacrificing your time and effort and possibly limbs for this country. He doesn't think so. He said that out loud. And we were still able to pass a veterans health care bill that says, yes, if you were deployed and there were KBR Halliburton burn pits and you got sick, yes, we'll take care of you. We are Americans after all, okay? We got NATO, a vote on NATO to expand and make NATO even stronger when the past president wanted to destroy NATO. He wanted to break it up. He wanted to end participation in it by citing money, saying, oh, this one only pays 1.2% and that one only pays 2% and we're paying 2%, but they should pay more. And just craziness, literal craziness, while he was obviously giving some sort of crown jewel secrets to other people. We don't know if it was other countries' people, but we know other people saw it. We know that at Mar-a-Lago he would brag, show people, like military movements. Remember Shinzo Abe at Mar-a-Lago, and they all whipped out their cameras and they all started taking pictures. Just so sick and sad. But meanwhile, we just passed another piece of legislation. This one's major. This is huge. Could have been bigger. It is what's left of Build Back Better. And this one has about $400 billion worth of, money to lower the amount of carbon in the air by incentivizing all kinds of industries, all kinds of people with all kinds of tax credits to do all kinds of, green things for their homes, for their driving, for their cars. $4,000 for a used, $7,500 for a new. As long as it's made in America. It also addressed taxation, a 15% minimum tax for companies that brag that they had over $1 billion in profits this year and are paying no taxes. Yeah, well, not anymore. Now you're going to pay 15% minimum. Prescription drugs can finally be negotiated. The price that the government, Medicare, pays for them. At least 10 this year and then 10 more and so on and so on. Paying down the deficit again, another contribution in almost like $300 billion more dollars to pay down the deficit, while giving you subsidies to help you afford health insurance. This bill is likely to create 9 million new jobs. And this is on top of the job creation that we already can celebrate in this administration. This is substance. This isn't rhetoric. This is substance. This isn't chest pounding. This isn't Gina virus. And coronavirus, by the way, Jill got diagnosed today. She's got coronavirus, Jill Biden. Okay? She'll be fine. That's the crazy thing. She'll be fine. She'll do the 5 days of Paxlovid, and then she'll have a relapse, because that's what it does. I told you when Biden first started on Paxlovid or Paxlovid, whatever they want to call it, I said he's going to get it again. And of course he did, because I'm always right. And that's another thing. Why do you want to listen to people who always are wrong? Why do you listen to people that never, ever, ever get anything right? What is that? Just sheer entertainment or the drama of it all? I'll give you drama. Donald Trump's going to go on trial. And there won't be an eyeball in this country that doesn't watch. You want drama? We'll give you drama, but we'll also give you progress. We'll also have a president who believes in us, a president who believes in America, a president who believes in possibilities, a president who understands that you don't bet against the American people, a president who says we're going to invest in us. And we're going to reap the benefits versus a president who says, I'm going to make money over there and you're going to reap the whirlwind. You know, you reap what you sow. It's unbelievable. It's like one guy, all the drama is about tearing us apart and tearing us down. And another guy is low drama, no drama actually, a little bit mush-mouthed and definitely, older. But it's trying to build us up and is doing it. Doing it. I would suggest you give him a decent Congress while you have the chance to do that. And it's coming up. It's like less than 85 days or something. I mean, the election is right around the corner. This isn't like, oh, well, I wish we could vote sooner. No, we're going to vote soon enough. And if you give him a House and you give him a couple more senators, and we could have about 8 more if we really wanted to, and a couple of, Republicans who also believe in us, like Lisa Murkowski, she'd be a good one. We could actually finish the job. We could get child care in this country. We could get universal pre-K in this country. We could get the child tax credit extended for every family to have, you have a kid under 6, you get $300 a month per child to help you make the ends meet.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Let's enjoy this moment.
I know there are those here today who hold a dark and despairing view of this country. I'm not one of them. I believe in the promise of America. I believe in the future of this country. I believe in the very soul of this nation. And most of all, I believe in you, the American people. I believe to my core, there isn't a single thing this country cannot do when we put our mind to it. We just have to remember who we are. We are the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. That's why so many foreign companies decide to invest or make chips in America. Billions of dollars. We're the best. We have to believe in ourselves again. And now I'm going to take action that I've been looking forward to doing for 18 months. I'm going to sign the Inflation Reduction Act.
Please sit. Thank you.
You try to just make sure you get the right one. All right. Okay. Here you go. It's now law.
Yay. Oh, Joe. That's a nice moment. That's a nice moment. We all deserve to have a president who believes in us. We deserve to have a president who knows how to make something out of nothing. And like I keep telling you, we don't have a majority in the Senate, and he made something out of nothing. Something out of nothing. You know why? He really believes in America. He really does. I mean, you had this crazy man prior who didn't believe anything. He had no principles, no integrity, no beliefs, no core values, no nothing. Everything about that person was about that person. That's as far and as wide as his concern went. And now we have a president who wants to be president of the United States of America. We have a president who really does believe, as corny as it sounds when he says it, and it does, he believes that there is nothing America can't do when we do it together. He really believes that. Now, I've known him for a very, very long time, and he has always believed that. He has never wavered in his core belief in us, in this country, in what this country is about, in this country's people. And he's met us. It's like, have you met us? Yeah, I've met you. I still believe in you. So please enjoy that moment, because that little piece of legislation right there, that just created about 9 million new jobs. That is going to be the basis for every good thing that happens for our children and their children going forward. It's like it's one of those moments like Medicare or Social Security, or it is one of those life-changing, trajectory enhancing pieces of legislation. And like I said, there are parts of it that got left on the side because Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema weren't up for it. But can you imagine if we could add a couple more senators and do away with the filibuster and keep the House? Can you imagine the kinds of things that will happen for our families, for our communities, for our pocketbooks, for our job creation, for our ability to educate ourselves and our children? I'm telling you. The things that got left aside were the child care things. The things that got left aside were the hearing aid things. Although I will say today, Joe Biden was able to get a commitment to sell hearing aids over the counter. So we'll start to see cheaper, more accessible, hearing aids on the market, but they still won't be covered under Medicare. So we have to have the rest of it addressed, voted on, and sent to him for his signature. And we all know he'll sign it. And that would be universal pre-K for 3- and 4-year-olds. That would be child care that doesn't cost us more than 8% of what we're making. So that I remember, when Jessica, my sister, she passed away 20 years ago. But when Jessica was very little, my sister was a hairdresser. And she would sit there and figure out like how many heads she had to do in order to pay for the pre-K, in order to pay for the childcare for Jessica. And it was like a wash. It became a wash, which is why I stepped up and why Jessica started coming to my house, because I was working I was working at night. I was working 8 o'clock at night till 11 o'clock at night. So I was able to do the school pickup and the whole, right? I mean, but when you don't have a family unit that's able to do that, when hours don't, create an environment where somebody can pitch in and somebody can, take care of your kid while you're at work, it just becomes so oppressive. I mean, single moms, my sister was a single mom. It becomes, why can't we create a country where, for God's sake, Sweden has it, Finland has it, Norway has it. You know what I'm saying? The UK. Why can't we have an industrialized nation that really cares about the industries in which we toil and the children that need to be cared for so we can toil? Why can't we have childcare that doesn't cost your entire paycheck? Why can't we have universal pre-K? Why can't we start our kids earlier? They're trying to dismantle public schools. They're over there saying there's no place in our country for public schools. There's no place in our country for pre-K. There's no, it's just so unbelievable. The lack of vision or effort. Everything that the Republican Party stands for is about drama and rhetoric and violence. Now, I was looking at how many people had ads that featured, weapons. The list is incredibly long and really, really earth-shattering. There's this whole new era of political violence that they are, foisting on our culture, on our society. And it's not imaginary, okay? It's not violence in music. It's not violence in video game. No, it's actual real violence, where in order to run in that party, you have to be featured in a TV ad with a semi-automatic weapon or a bazooka now. Do you know what I'm saying? This era of political violence has to come to a conclusion, and the only way to detox the crazy violent ones out there is to let them see a trial of these criminals and have them appreciate just how self-serving it all was, and that it had nothing in mind for them.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Such a big win for President Biden. He's actually interrupting his vacation and flying back to the White House today just for this bill signing. So let me show you what's inside of it, because as you said, it is indeed a big one. We're talking about some $740 billion overall on this health care front. It's going to help some 13 million Americans pay for insurance by expanding subsidies. It caps prescription drug costs at $2,000 a year for Medicare recipients. And then starting next year, those receiving Medicaid would pay no more than $35 a month for insulin. That's that really expensive drug. It's also the largest, as you just said, Gio, climate investment in U.S. history. Listen to this, some $370 billion. This includes tax credits for solar panels, electric vehicles. And look, Democrats say by the end of the decade, these incentives are going to cut greenhouse gas by 40% from those 2005 levels. The big question right now, this is paid for by new taxes on large companies and stepped up IRS enforcement of the rich. Look, the White House is calling this a once-in-a-generation investment, promising that it's going to save Americans by saving them money by reducing inflation and lowering the deficit.
I mean, it's unbelievable. When you want to get something done for Americans, you can get something done for Americans. We just had an administration that wanted to wage war inside America. He wanted to tear us apart and was very successful at doing so. He literally wanted to set one upon the other in some sort of an ideological war scenario. That's all they ever talk about on the right-wing, podcasts and the Gab and the telegrams and the crazy, alt-right TikToks. I mean, that's all they ever talk about. Weapons and war. Weapons and war. Let's kill the FBI now. I mean, it's unbelievable how you know, you had some very, very progressive members floating the idea of defunding local police forces who obviously, shoot their own people that they're supposed to be protecting and serving. But you got the crazies on the right now that are saying defund the FBI. You understand the FBI deals in counterterrorism. You understand the FBI deals in child trafficking, right? You understand that the FBI does intelligence work. It is so amazing to me. But they don't want to be held accountable for the crimes that their dear leader committed. They don't want to go down with that ship. They don't want to be near it. They don't want anybody to. And it's the only way to end this political violence that's being done in this country is to put these people, and it's going to be a whole lot of people, on trial. To put them on trial for racketeering inside the United States, for running a corrupt organization inside the United States, for tearing the United States apart or attempting to tear the United States apart. I mean, it is so amazing to me that is their goal, that this is what they're working for, deconstruction of the United States. And they say it. They say it out loud. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Your other aspect for the FBI being around, not being defunded and deconstructed, is that, if you didn't have us, you wouldn't be able to stop child trafficking. Ask Liz Ure, anybody involved. Ask all the patriots out there right now. They're involved in stopping child trafficking. Does anybody ever mention the FBI as being any real assistance whatsoever?
Oh, my God.
Except for marginal cases. Remember, here's what they do. They do a marginal case every now and then. They say, hey, we're really doing something.
A marginal case?
No, they've turned into the American Gestapo. They have to be defunded. They say, this is dangerous talk. No, it's not. It's a political process. These institutions aren't permanent. Institutions should last as long as they are effective for the American people. In our nation.
Okay.
They seem effective to me. I'm an American. I love the job they're doing.
Every year in this country, the FBI does these targeted sex trafficking arrests. Every year they work on new groups of sex traffickers. This year, let me go back to 2019, okay? In 2019, there was a month-long FBI-led operation to identify and arrest sex traffickers and recover child victims. There were hundreds of children rescued. There were 67 sex trafficker groups that were arrested and tried, okay? The FBI Child Exploitation and Human Trafficking Task Forces exist in every single one of the 56 FBI field offices in the United States. The sweep in 2019 included undercover operations that led to the opening of 6 federal criminal investigations. 103 juveniles were identified and recovered. 67 suspected traffickers were arrested, and 60 new federal investigations were started. Okay, so that was 2019. This month, just like last week, there was another giant arrest and we were able to rescue over 200 juveniles who were sex trafficked. 200. We've been doing this since 2003. 2003, we created the Department of Justice Child Exploitation and Obscenity section and launched the Innocence Lost National Initiative in 2003 to go after sex trafficking of children. Today, we have 86 child exploitation and human trafficking task forces. So far, it has led to 6,600 child victims and 2,700 criminal convictions of sex traffickers. It's called Operation Cross Country. They do it every year in this country, and we've been doing it since 2003, and it produces the most amazing results to end child sex trafficking. And he's sitting there trying to tell you need to defund or disband the FBI because they don't really do anything. They don't really do anything with regard to sex trafficking or child sex trafficking. I mean, this is just the juveniles. We're not even talking about adults. Adults who are, being held by sex traffickers, who are being coerced, who have their passports taken away from them, who are, enslaved, basically. Why would you lie about something like that? Because you don't want to be held accountable for the crimes you commit. And he was we almost held him accountable for the crime he committed. He committed a fraud against his own freaking viewers. He stole $1 million. And Trump pardoned him. Pardoned him. And this is another part of this, okay? So we're not going to go through all this heavy lifting, all of this time and effort to identify the crimes and to hold people accountable for the crimes that were committed against this country, including election rigging and obstruction of investigations into the Russia collusion, right? Remember that there was no certain conclusion except that Russia did interfere in our elections, and 13 indictments were handed down against a Russian troll farm in St. Petersburg. But we couldn't account for the president because the president obstructed the investigation. And now he's obstructing this investigation. And so some of the thoughts out there are, well, we're going to get him and we're going to put him on trial and he'll be convicted. And then we'll elect Ron DeSantis and Ron DeSantis will pardon him. Well, see, if we had a trial on the TV in 2023 and 2024 ahead of the 2024 election, I doubt Republicans would be viable for dog catcher.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
January 2021. Joe Biden becomes president, inheriting a deeply damaged economy. Democrats went to work, repairing our roads and bridges, boosting American manufacturing, taking on China, fixing supply chains to lower costs, allowing Medicare to negotiate lower drug prices, a new law boosting energy independence, over 9.5 million new jobs. Democrats delivering for America's families. House Majority PAC is responsible for the content of this ad.
Yeah, keep it airing. Just play it over and over and over and over and over again. Because you give Joe Biden a couple more senators, we get rid of the filibuster, and we can do childcare. We can do pre-K. We can do, a child tax credit. We can, continue that. We can help ourselves a great deal. Or we can have a civil war. Up to you. You choose. But at least the Civil War was about something. The Civil War was about the Union versus seditionists who wanted to protect the institution of slavery, okay? They wanted to protect the ability for one man to own another human being, another man. This is what they fought for. And it was a bloodbath, you understand? But at least it was about something, as ill-conceived as their ideas in the South were. At least they believed in sedition. They believed in slavery. These people, they believe in nothing. They believe in absolutely nothing, or at least nothing real. And they're just a bunch of randos. They're not like, the American Civil War was, an inevitable confrontation between an organized military, organized forces in the South. This is not that. This is crazy people running for office on television with weapons. And declaring their willingness to use it against, people they don't like. Honestly, what is that about? What is that belief that, people that disagree with you must die? Is that a belief? Is that something? I don't know. I mean, listen, this is happening because you have old white men who are watching too much television. Seriously, and believe in nothing real. They believe in absolutely nothing real. I need to show you a couple of these things, okay? This is just so insane. But this is what goes on when in the right wing, in their houses of worship, on their television shows. Here, I'll start with a television show first, okay? This is the right wing talking to the right wing about getting rid of everybody else.
This is spiritual warfare, and we are now in the Normandy landing of spiritual warfare. The Democratic Party is possessed by preternatural evil. It is not a human institution anymore. It is an instrument of wicked spirits. This is demonic. Our enemies are demonic. There's no turning the other cheek. There's no being winsome. There's no compromise possible.
And I want to be clear, just theologically, because in the past, if you don't clarify these things, people misinterpret them. Well, folks, we're not saying that these people are demons. We're saying that they're being used by demons. And we need to understand that at the heart of all this, this is a spiritual battle. There's no other way to make sense of it. If you're solving for X, if you know how to do algebra, you solve for X, you don't even need to believe in God. This will make you believe in God. This will make you understand. When you look at this, you say, there is no other possible explanation. If I connect all the dots, it doesn't make any sense. Greed, politics, nothing could account for what we're seeing except something genuinely spiritually dark and wicked.
Yes, it's dark and wicked to do pre-K. It's very dark and wicked to give people, the ability to install solar panels. Of course, that's Satan. That's Satan acting, right?
I'm glad he clarified, because people as demons, lunacy. Ridiculous. People being used by demons, that starts to make a little sense.
Okay, you want to see a man possessed? Okay, this is a guy who watched entirely too many Sam Kinison YouTubes, okay? Really. Check this out.
His anger is not turned away, but his hand is still stretched out. Say, surely I'll find somebody that'll stop me. That's what he's called you to do for America. Listen to me. If we don't have a miracle in the midterms, if we don't have a miracle in 24, I dare tell you it is over. There is no more stopping the judgment of God on this nation. God is depending on you to get involved, to get concerned, to give a care about his nation.
Isn't gluttony a sin? I don't know. But this guy watched entirely too much Sam Kinison in his life and decided to take it up to, his little pulpit there and start screaming about the midterms, right? Because, investing in infrastructure in the United States of America, especially during these, floods and during, these tornadoes, that's evil. That's evil. Giving veterans health care, demonic. I'm here to tell you, letting Medicare negotiate the cost of prescription drugs, lowering the cost of insulin for seniors to $35 a month. I'm telling you, Satan is just having a party. What? This is real craziness, okay? And, here's Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer is running in Florida. She wants to join the House of Representatives. She hates Muslims. She hates a lot of people. She's a hater. She's just a virulent hater. All her power comes from hatred, but it's not demonic, right? She forgot she's a Jew. She forgot.
I'm a really big supporter of the Christian nationalist movement. I support Christians. I'm going to fight for Christians. I'm going to fight for white people. I'm going to fight for nationalist movements. I'm going to fight against the anti-white racism that is being perpetuated. I'm going to fight for all Americans, really. All freedom-loving Americans, regardless of their background. But there is clearly a war on white people. There's clearly a war on Christianity in this country. Even though I am Jewish, I'm still going to fight for Christian nationalists. And I find that most of my friends and most of my allies and most of the people who I associate these days with are Christian nationalists.
I mean, and the host is sitting there going, good for you, because we're going to eat you alive when we get power. We're going to eat you, Laura. You forgot you're a Jew, and Jews are not welcome in the white Christian nationalist group. We're Nazis. Did somebody not give you the memo? It is so amazing. It is just so self-loathing. So not only do you have to hate others, you now have to hate yourself. That's crazy. Brian in California.
Hi, Randy.
Hi, Brian.
You had a question like, why are we going on like this? My thought is that why would you fight the Civil War over and over and over again when you know the end result? You lost. And that's what Donald Trump is doing. Same thing. And yes, you're right. gluttony is the third sin.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought it was. Jason in Simi Valley.
Oh, Randy, I just want to end your show telling everybody it's only going to get worse for Donald. And you know what's going to do him in the end? It's not the big people, the Giuliani or whatever. It's going to be all these lesser-known people, the assistants and such, who are being deposed, who don't have the big lawyers and such, because the more you dig, the worse it gets. And by the end of this, it's going to be a death of a thousand cuts, whether it be Georgia, the election thing, the documents, or whatever. I just don't see any way it's going to get better for him.
No, it's going to get combined, okay, into one.
RICO.
Yes, and into one giant RICO case. And everybody, his lieutenants, whatever you want to call his guy, his lawyers. I mean,
capos?
Look, yes, his capos. Okay, they're all gonna go to federal prison. Rudy Giuliani, has already he's already lost his law. He can't practice law. And
he's
now,
not been disbarred yet. He's only had it suspended.
Right. Well, I mean, his life is over. His career is done. All he wants to do now is die a free man. That's his goal. That's what he's shooting for. And you know what that means? That means he flips like a goldfish out of the bowl.
By the way, for the record, and I hope you've seen it, but let's just say that I have echoes of Saul Goodman.
Of who?
Saul Goodman. Better Call Saul. If you haven't watched it, you'll love it.
Oh, Bob Odenkirk. Okay. Yeah. Well, listen. Cowards, instigators, they're egging on people, who are wannabes, never will be's. And every one of them is going to end up in some sort of trouble, some sort of pickle. And it's not going to put a nickel in your pocket to hate like this. So cut the crap.